So today we're going to dive into the 5 biggest turnoffs for men. So ladies, you might not want to watch this video, but would you want to know what the 5 biggest turnoffs were? What if you were creating disconnection or harming intimacy in your relationship and you didn't even know it? So the first turnoff for a man is when we don't own our curves. I remember Skylar very distinctly saying to me, I had put on lingerie one time, and I walked out, and I was like this, totally ashamed, totally don't look at me. And he's like, don't even do it. He's like, it makes it worse. It doesn't matter, he would say, it doesn't matter whether you're 50 pounds more or, because we always want to weigh less than what we do, or 5 pounds less or whatever it is. He's like, when you own your body and you own your curves and where you're at and you wear things that make you feel sexy, he's like, that's the hottest thing. He's like, I can't tell when you gain 5 pounds or lose 5 pounds. It doesn't even really register with me. So when you don't own it, or when you're like, oh, I don't like this, or you talk bad about your body, he's like, do you want me to believe that? He's like, oh, do you want me to look at your butt when you say that and say that about you? He's like, then don't say that stuff, because it's a turnoff for me. I'm not even thinking that stuff, but you're putting it in my brain when you say those things to me. So number 1, first thing, ladies, we got to own our curves. The second biggest turnoff for a man is competing and comparing yourself with him. So often, I have a competitive spirit, right? And I want to beat Skylar at everything that I do. But at the end of the day, he's a man, and he wants to be the leader, and he wants to be head honcho, and he wants to be stronger. And so I believe sometimes it can be a turnoff when we're constantly competing and comparing ourselves. It's just unhealthy to compare ourselves to another human being. God made you unique and special and with special attributes, and he made your spouse with unique and special attributes where where you're weak in, your spouse can shore up that weakness and support you because they're probably strong in it, and vice versa. But when we're constantly comparing and competing, it creates this atmosphere of you versus me, right? And there's a winner and a loser. When it's a competition, someone wins and someone loses, or someone's put down and someone is elevated. And so for a while that might work. It was fun in the beginning of a relationship, but then it got really old as we continue to do it over and over again. And I'm like, we've got to stop. Don't compare me to you. We're different. We have our own unique struggles. We have our own unique strengths. And how are we using those to come together? So the second turnoff for men is comparing and competing long term. The third biggest turnoff for a man is when you try and control him, ladies. When you try and tell him how to dress, how to act, how to respond, who to fire, what to do. Men are they want to be free. They don't want their wife, I think that's where the term ball and chain comes from, right? She's always just dragging me down because she wants me to be the way she thinks I should, right? Do you allow autonomy for your man in your relationship? I don't know about you, but I don't want to be told all of that stuff. That's probably more my masculine side of me, but I don't want to be told, I don't want him constantly telling me what I should do, what I should say, how I should treat the kids, how I should respond. You guys are two completely, God made men and God made women, and they are two completely different species that act completely different. So are you allowing him to be who he is? If he's a man, more than likely he plays rough with your children if you have children. I have to walk out of the room sometimes because it just stresses me out like crazy when they wrestle. I know someone's going to end up crying at the end of it, but that's him. And if I tried to make him parent like me because I'm a woman, the kids would miss out on so much goodness because I can bring the woman's side and he brings the man's side to everything. The fourth biggest turnoff, at least in our relationship, is when I'm snippy and standoffish. The one thing that Skylar desires for me in our relationship is to be happy. So he bases his fulfillment and his the way he's doing as a husband sometimes based on if I am happy or not. And I can't always be happy, right? Like I'm gonna have highs, I'm gonna have challenges, I'm gonna have lows, but if I'm often snippy and standoffish to him, it really affects our relationship. And so that's a big turnoff when we're snippy and standoffish. So like, how are you recovering from that? Like ladies, I know we are going to have, like, we probably have more highs and more lows than men, right? So our husbands have to understand that we are not just even keel species. We have hormones that come in and out. But when you're snippy and standoffish, it pushes him away often. He's like, you know what? I don't even want to go there. I don't want to be around her like that. And so when you're done feeling snippy and standoffish, do you come back to him and either apologize for things you said that you maybe shouldn't have said or wish you wouldn't have said? Or do you come back and then be happy and be joyful and be appreciative and grateful for the relationship that you have? Like how you move in and out of conflict is extremely important. So the fifth thing, the fifth biggest turnoff is not being his biggest cheerleader. And when I say this one, it makes me think of when we're not their biggest cheerleader, they're drawn to other women that will be their biggest cheerleader. And that's on them if they are drawn to that, but it's on you whether you champion him or not. If you're the wife that's always like, oh, well, you know, you messed up last time, so you're probably gonna mess up again, or yeah, are you sure you're gonna make that decision? Like, what if that goes bad? Like, if you don't ever give him space to, one, make mistakes and not totally dehumanize him for it and demean him for it, he's not gonna feel like you're his biggest cheerleader. But when he knows that no matter what, he can come home to you and you're going to support him, you're gonna respect him, and you're gonna see him as the man he's becoming versus defining him by his faults and his past, that's someone who, like, he wants to be around. That's someone he's going to come back to. That's someone he's going to want to do life with and want to engage with emotionally versus the one that's always putting him down and reminding him of his failures. I don't know about you, but I never want to be reminded of my failures. Like, I'm already hard enough on myself. And some of your spouses are hard enough on themselves. And the last thing they want from you is more criticism. You get to be his biggest cheerleader. Like you're the one woman in his life that gets to champion him other than his mother, right? And he's not married to his mother. He's married to you. And so the fifth biggest turnoff is when you're not his biggest cheerleader. So just to recap, the 5 biggest turnoffs is 1, when we don't own our curves, when we compare ourselves to him and compete with him, when we try and control him, when we're snippy and we're standoffish, and when we're not his biggest cheerleader. So comment below with which one you're gonna work on doing better at, right? We don't have to be perfect, but if we're always improving, like I always wanna improve, I always wanna be able to show up as my best self. And so hopefully this gave you some stuff to chew on, and so you can see how you can keep your husband in a peak state, loving you, turned on for you, and wanting you. It's what I desire most for your marriage. So if you liked the video, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you again soon.